We're live.
It worked.
Welcome to the Ben and Lauren Show. Had some technical difficulties, but we overcame.
After how many takes?
1, 2, 3. I just wanted to do this because I was playing with it earlier.
So instead of another week down, I think we're up to 3 weeks down.
That's right.
It's 3 weeks.
So we are back from our little hiatus where we left the great state of Michigan. We drove for 2 days down to the state of Arkansas, to the Ozarks. It was a good time.
We drove 900 miles there and 900 miles back. And then it took us a whole week to get everything back under control.
So here we are. Things are mostly back under control again.
Yeah, including the laundry.
And we have so much to talk about with our trip that we're probably just going to talk about our week instead. And then maybe we'll squeeze a little bit of that Ozark trip into our podcast today.
Well, we can probably sum up the week pretty quickly. We got back from Arkansas before it got cold.
Yes.
We left Arkansas and it was about 90 degrees. We got home and it was not quite 60.
It was cold.
So it was cold. And
that's why I'm wearing a sweater.
The first order of business when we got home was to do a lot of laundry. We did some laundry while we were there, but we had issues with bug bites.
Oh yeah, I could show you my bug bites if you want.
And we kept finding new ones after we got home. So I decided to just wash all the laundry in case we might have some little critters hiding out in there. You know, we kept hearing that they were chigger bites, and I have no idea what a chigger is. I've never seen one. I should probably look it up. But I did hear that they might possibly hang around a little bit. So I decided to wash everything. And then when I was in the middle of washing everything, our dryer broke.
So we've been home for 2 weeks and I still have bug bites that I'm recovering from.
And it's just 1 week. 1 week and 1 day.
Okay, 1 week and 1 day.
Mm-hmm.
Time flies, I guess.
Yeah. That's why I'm not too worried about your bug bites.
Okay, good. So we did lots of laundry coming home. And of course, the dryer broke. And I ordered the replacement part. I'm going to install that probably tomorrow.
So I had to take a trip over to the laundromat this week. That's a little bit unusual. It turns out you should never go to the laundromat on Sunday around here. Everybody else is at the laundromat on Sunday.
If I were there, I'd be getting my webcam out, my camera, and start filming it, showing everything.
Actually, it was kind of a peaceful trip because I went by myself thinking I was going to just throw the laundry in. I was going to just throw the laundry in and have it get dry, had it all washed. Every single one of it looked like there was about 100 dryers there and they were all full and everyone was standing around waiting, with their wet laundry to put it in. So I had to put it in and I was going to put it in, go to the grocery store and come back. But I decided to babysit the laundry because with that number of people standing around eyeing the dryers, you never know. You might come back and find your laundry's been stashed somewhere.
I've never been to a laundromat that's been extremely full before. So
I sat there, but it was amazing. There was all this hustle and bustle going around, but I had no little kids with me, and it was very peaceful. I just sat.
Just sit around and
everyone else is on their
phone.
Everyone else is on their phone and watching TV or trying to find something to do. And I'm just like, well, this is kind of pleasant. I think I'll just sit here.
And they're looking at you saying, what's wrong with that woman? She's not staring at a phone. She's not looking at a screen. She's not just thinking.
I was just sort of zoned out.
Just thinking. Who thinks anymore?
So anyway,
shaking the computer.
So we did the wash, and that all got done, and we had to start taking out our garden because it got so cold. And the frost date is coming up this week. We knew nothing that was out there was going to really produce anything, but we were going to have more pleasant weather this last week than this next week. So I started working on taking out the garden. So
we got some great tomatoes, gigantic, huge tomatoes this year.
Gigantic tomatoes.
We should have brought some around.
Well, we have these Hungarian pink tomatoes. They're an heirloom variety, and my family's grown them for years. But we had stopped growing them from seed because they are so finicky. They just are such a pain in the neck to get them to produce, even though they're really good tomatoes. So my sister bought Ben.
It's my birthday present.
For his birthday, she bought him 2 tomato plants. And as usual, they were really finicky. They dropped a tremendous number of blossoms. If we'd had as many tomatoes as we have blossoms, we'd have had bushels of tomatoes off those plants.
As it was, we got a nice crop. They were really big, juicy, delicious tomatoes. They were so big that it takes a couple days for us to slice it up and eat them all.
It takes 2 days for Ben and I to eat one.
We don't eat tomatoes that fast, so
Yeah, they are basically, they'll fill 2 hands. They're about this big.
You should have had a prop ready.
Should have. But the tomato plants, because we put a new product that someone that Ben's dad knows makes, it's called Bucky Bloom. It's basically dried cow manure. We put that on the tomato plants this year, and we got explosive
I
growth.
think that had something to do with it.
It's taken me 3 days to disassemble the tomato plants because they grew up a trellis, and then they were sticking up over the top of the 6-foot trellis so high, I had to run a line over and start growing them sideways because I couldn't reach the tomatoes if they went any higher. And I've estimated that they grew to be about 12 feet tall.
About that.
The vines went about 12 feet.
You know, they go up and then they can't go up anymore, so they go over.
They had gone up, they'd gone over 3 feet, and then they'd started going down the trellis the other side. So
we need one of those big hoop trellises.
It's taking me days to cut everything down and pull it out of the trellis and get it bagged up. And we only had 6 tomato plants. So I worked on the tomatoes this week.
So what else have we been doing? I know that you've been watching the Kavanaugh trial or whatever you want to call it.
Right. So in the process of doing a lot of laundry and doing the tomatoes, I've been listening. First, I listened to the testimony by Dr. Blasey Ford.
Blasey Ford.
I listened to her whole testimony, and I listened to her cross-examination by the prosecutor, and I listened to all the Democrat senators pontificating. And then I listened to Judge Kavanaugh's testimony on the same subject. And my conclusion as a mom is that...
As a mom?
Well, meaning you get some experience in seeing kids lie to you. Dr. Ford was lying.
You heard it here first, folks.
I don't think that she was necessarily lying about something bad having happened to her at one time, although even that, I'm a little dicey on whether it really happened. But she made up that entire story. That whole thing was not real. So I listened to that before I listened to any commentary or anything else. And then I listened to commentary after that. So I got all caught up.
So her opinion came from her observations, not from commentary that she listened to. Although you listened to that later.
I did. And what I found was interesting was how many of the things that I had noticed were odd were commented on by other people. So they must have been overwhelmingly obvious.
Yeah.
So I did that. What did you do while I was doing all this laundry and other stuff?
Oh, boy. Useful stuff, I'm sure.
You spent a lot of time catching up on business things.
Yeah, when we came back, I had a lot of emails to catch up on, a lot of ongoing jobs. My dad was leaving pretty much right when we came back. So he was running the business while I was away. We had a couple days overlap where he kind of got me caught up, and then he left to Pennsylvania. So now I'm running the show solo again. Although he's doing a lot even from where he is. So we're in conversation back and forth. So that's mostly what I've been up to lately.
Yeah, it seemed like you spent most of the week trying to just catch up.
I had a sales call.
Stuff.
I had a sales call. Was it Friday?
Yeah.
And met up with someone that was interested in some of our products, and I think it went fairly well.
Seemed like it. And we had delivery to Western Michigan on Wednesday, so that was another 6-hour drive.
Wednesday was another full day. We hopped in our car, drove 3 hours out to the other side of the state, made the delivery, 3 hours back, and by the time you're back, it's dinner time.
Right.
Day's done.
So our kids put in a lot of car time.
Yeah. It was 900 miles. No, it'd be 1,800 miles round trip down to Arkansas.
Right.
And we did an extra, I don't know how many miles our trip out to.
I don't either. It was
West
6
side.
hours in the car.
6-hour drive.
So that was our week.
That was our week.
Nobody was sick. We came back healthy.
We were very, very thankful for that.
Mm-hmm. Last time we went out for a trip to Sukkot, we came back with some flu kind of bug that took us another couple of weeks to get over.
Almost every Sukkot we get sick.
Yeah, we
come back with some sort of sickness.
One Sukkot, we were staying here in the backyard and we got whooping cough.
Yeah, that was terrible.
I mean,
that was awful.
That was awful. It was pretty bad from someone who'd been vaccinated for it.
Oh, that's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story. That was nuts. So our week is wrapped up. You want to talk about Sukkot?
Yeah. So keep it down to about 10 minutes. All right, day one, we got there and it was raining hard. And we set up the tent and the whole campsite in the rain. We wanted to get it done before sundown because it was a Friday.
It was almost Sabbath.
We had some help getting everything all set up. We appreciate that. And while we were bringing our second load of stuff up the mountain, we got a nice big flat tire.
It flattened out as Ben was pulling up in front of the tent with the last load of stuff. We had to leave it down at the bottom of the mountain because our little platform trailer would have bottomed up going up the big hill. We wouldn't have been able to do it.
That's how you know it's a steep hill. We have a trailer. It would actually bottom out.
Done it. So
we did 2 trips up the mountain. And the second trip, I was so excited that I popped it into 4-wheel drive, went up the steep mountain, and it made it. And I'm through the window, I'm looking at Lauren, giving her the thumbs up, like, yeah, we did it.
What's the hissing sound? What's wrong? Did we puncture
always
a radiator?
She's always a downer.
Oh, I was hearing this loud sizzling noise. And I thought for a second it was something really critical. I thought maybe it was like a fuel pump. I was trying to see if there was a gasoline smell.
Tire is extremely critical. It's 1/4 of the.
Well, not like a radiator though.
So I roll down the window and she says, "Ben, you have a flat."
All of a sudden I saw that the driver's side tire was deflating as I was watching. I thought, oh, it's a flat tire, which isn't great, but it was a lot better than what I was initially thinking.
Yeah. So I rolled it over to the side of the camp and we just basically said, what are we going to do? Not going to do anything before Shabbat. So we enjoyed a rainy Sabbath, the evening and misty morning. And then the following day was a Sunday. No tire place was open. And then another Sabbath on Monday. So it was not until Tuesday that we actually addressed the tire issue.
It wasn't so bad. At least the car was out of the way. We didn't have anywhere to go. We used it as kind of a dry box because it was so wet the first couple of days. We kept like the camera and a couple of things that really needed to stay dry. We just said, well, keep them out of the tent, I guess.
So we actually got there a couple days early before Sukkot because of the timing of everything. We got there Friday, spent Saturday there, and then Sunday. And then Monday was officially the first day of Sukkot. And a lot of people showed up on Sunday. It was Sunday, right? Saturday and Sunday.
And the weather cleared up. We had some really beautiful weather.
Yes, the weather became
like
gorgeous.
75 to 80 most days we were there.
And we keep hearing stories about how cold it was in Michigan. So
it was sunny. We had very calm nights. We had one more rainy day, but it wasn't bad. I mean, it was the most pleasant weather we've ever had during Sukkot, I would say. It was so pleasant that we had to watch out for snakes.
Yep.
Because it was still warm enough for snakes.
There were a lot of bugs.
There were a lot of bugs. It was the year of the daddy long legs. We saw so many daddy long legs. We even saw them get into a fight.
Yeah, we watched daddy long legs fight. And they basically go like this.
It's in slow motion. Then they sit there and think about it for a while. And then they wave their legs at each other.
That's my reenactment of an actual daddy long leg fight that we watched.
See, this is what happens when you don't have a television, you're off grid. You sit on camp chairs and watch a daddy long legs fight in slow motion.
Until you get bored and go off and do something else.
Our kids got used to going to bed with the sun and getting up with the sun. So every night at around 7:30, they all conked out on their sleeping bags and they were out for the night, which was really fantastic.
Yeah. We had a lot of evenings.
So we would get everything kind of tidied up for the night, and then we'd go find a campfire to sit at. There was usually 3 or 4 nice big fires with a big circle of chairs around. We went and visited. One of the things we did not do in past Sukkots was really visit very effectively. We'd get so caught up in taking care of our own things that we did not leave time to visit. But you've got people traveling from all over to be together, and that's the point of getting together like that. It's the conversation you can have, the time you can spend.
I would say visiting around campfires, chatting with people, talking about whatever. That was the highlight of the trip for us.
Yeah, it was very nice. It was very, very
and
nice.
We finally are starting to get to the point where we're not so caught up in our own campsite and our meals and our whatevers that we can actually sit down and talk with people. So,
well, we had a lot of help too. Dustin and Cassie lent us a really big cooler.
Thank you, Dustin.
That was fantastic.
And Cassie, thank you.
Because we couldn't have hauled that cooler. And we were able to make frozen meals ahead of time then. And I was able to heat them up, which I never had the luxury of doing before. And that saved a whole lot of time. We had good food this Sukkot.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
It's the first really feast of Sukkot we celebrated.
We had a giant smoker at the campsite. And that was very useful. We put our meat on there. People brought meat, shared meat.
a family from Texas brought it. That was a great idea.
It was fantastic. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
We got to try raw milk for the first time.
We were bootleggers. Yeah, in Michigan, you drink raw milk,
illegal
you can get arrested if you're caught transporting raw milk in Michigan. It's kind of like, drug running.
So we had some raw milk. It was fantastic. We must have gotten 3-4 gallons of it.
We went through so much milk. Susanna kept guzzling it because she can't drink milk without getting a stomachache most of the time.
I was able to drink it no problem. I got my lactose problem, but I drink the raw milk no problem at all. That should say a lot.
Yep.
I can drink all the milk I want if it's raw.
And the milk lady was bringing biscuits, and our kids got addicted to Miss Joni's biscuits. So they would be scrounging around for quarters so that they could go get biscuits from her at the end of the day. And they'd go racing off. They'd see her truck. The biscuits. We got to go get biscuits.
We got to try some Homestead eggs. And they were fantastic too. They look so different. We actually got some eggs from Walmart. So we got to do a side-by-side comparison between the farm eggs and the Walmart eggs. There was no comparison.
And we had beef bacon on this trip.
Beef bacon was fantastic. So we had beef
bacon and eggs for breakfast, which is a big, huge treat. And then
farm eggs and beef bacon.
Then we were getting things like a big slab of smoked beef off the, and
sausage.
We still lost weight though, because everything we did there, you had to go up the mountain one way and down the mountain the other way.
Yeah,
we did a lot.
We exerted a lot more energy than we're used to.
One of the things that happened was, our Berkey water filter, we dropped it off a table and broke it.
Yeah, that was sad.
And we sort of patched it together for a few days, and then Zach and Jamie lent us another filter. And it was very important they have
another
Berkey filter. But it's important because they're collecting a lot of the water is rainwater.
You gotta filter it.
You have to filter it because while it's clean when it falls out of the sky, it sits in the tubs and it gets a little cloudy. And it puts the filters through a workout. There's like a slime that gets on the filters really quickly.
You don't want to be drinking that.
The water tastes great once it's gone through the filter, but I wouldn't want to drink it.
There's bugs in it.
Unfiltered. Sometimes we see little wriggly bugs in it.
Yeah. Filter it.
So anyway, that was one of the weird little things that happened was we lost our Berkey, and apparently somebody was there who has connections to the family that makes the Berkeys, and we are getting another one in the mail.
So we hear. Yeah.
We hear, which is really pretty amazing.
We'll have to keep checking up on that.
Do an unboxing video.
So we had some games that we played this year, which was fun with some of the people that were there. We played some Mafia. And
we found a spare corner to stuff our Settlers of Catan board into the car.
Yeah. Dustin actually was did a couple of the Mafia. He was leading it, but then Zach did a couple too. So
they were both good.
They were both good.
That's the first time I've ever played Mafia that I enjoyed it.
Yeah. She was Mafia at least once.
Twice.
I was Mafia once. Twice. She was Mafia twice. I was Mafia once. And I was the worst Mafia ever. I got killed off right away. I'm not a good Mafia guy.
I was Mafia in a turn when one of the guys who got to be sheriff was really good at it, and he just named all the Mafia, and he got to me. Everyone expected to be to mount some defense, but the other Mafia were all saying, well, how do we know he's the sheriff? I thought, I am not going to do this silly defense again. So I'm like, well, see you on the next turn, guys. Like, what, you confess? Well, there's not much point in making a defense here.
I practically confess immediately. So we also played Settlers of Catan. We were requested to bring our copy, so we did, and did the tournament. And who happened to be the champion of Settlers of Catan at the 2018 Sukkot Gathering? Oh, it was me.
I was gonna say, I don't know who won that.
That was fun. We enjoyed that, and I enjoyed that anyway.
We got to meet Papa Pepper.
Yes, Papa Pepper.
Yeah, he came with his family and visited 2 of the days we were there. And conned you into eating multiple extremely hot peppers, after which you would hiccup, after which he now knows you as hiccup.
That it's real hiccups. If I have a hot pepper right now, I'll start hiccuping.
He comes up and he's like, here, try this ghost pepper.
Try this ghost pepper. Okay, sure. Try this lemon popper. Try this. Oh yeah, sure, why not?
All I know is I learned don't ever eat any pepper that Papa Pepper gives you.
I knew that walking in. I wanted the challenge. Now, the first time I knew I would react, so I just kind of let myself go. But then we watched the one chip challenge where very stoic men ate these very hot peppers and hot spices, and they didn't show any response at all. So I figured, okay, next time I eat a pepper, I'll just pretend like I'm not in agonizing pain. It didn't work. I'm hiccuping and
you were still hiccuping,
sweating, and you just what are you gonna do?
We had to stay. We stayed an extra day because we've learned it takes us a long time to pack up camp.
Mm-hmm.
So we planned to spend a day packing up camp and then leave the next morning. We were going to leave our tent up and then leave and pack that up in the next morning and leave. And Jamie Bauer suggested that maybe we could stay in their tent overnight and then they said, would you like to have dinner with us?
That was really nice.
So that was really special. We got to have dinner with their family.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really nice. Now our kids are a little loopy that night.
They're always loopy at the worst times.
So I basically just said, okay guys, these people need to go to bed. They're tired. Mm-hmm. And I took them off and
we were tired too.
Bed. So we started for home. We stayed one night where we were in the camping field by ourselves.
It's different when you're there.
That's when you start thinking about Zach saying things like, wow, there's been a family of bears in the neighborhood. They attacked our neighbor's livestock. And it's like, oh, well, all
bears,
these food scraps lying
mountain
around
lions, stray dogs, copperheads,
coyotes.
Oh, yeah, coyotes.
Oh, we found a tarantula.
Tarantulas.
Yeah, we found
creepy crawlies.
It was about the size of my palm.
Oh, we saw all sorts of interesting animals.
Caterpillars that were this big and this big around, and a lot of critters.
So yeah, what else that was kind of a highlight of the trip?
I had a whole list, but my computer just shut down.
I think it's kind of a summary. I've been doing Steam It posts showing little piece by piece our photo gallery of explaining each day. I'm kind of slowly going through that week. I think I'm on Monday.
I think we heard a lot of people's stories and why they were there, what they were doing there. And there was people that we'd been there with before, and then there was people we hadn't met before.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of pretty good attitudes because people were a little more experienced, I think, than the last time we were there.
We had the blacksmith. That was fun.
Oh, yeah. One guy brought a blacksmith forge. That was pretty interesting.
And I didn't do a whole lot of blacksmithing, but I really liked the sound of clank, clank, clank.
Yeah. It
made it feel like...
It was a neat part of the camping. You kept hearing people banging on the...
It sounded like a frontier town.
That tink, tink, tink sound.
Mm-hmm. It was great.
Between that and the smoker.
Mm-hmm.
People hauling slabs of meat off and putting them in the smoker.
It was fun. This has been the best Sukkot we've pretty much had since we've been celebrating Sukkot.
But we still learned that the big challenge about Sukkot and what it teaches us is Sukkot is a reminder of the exodus of the people of Israel in the wilderness and what it was like for them to live in the wilderness without having a settled home. So for us every year, it's a reminder of what it would be like were we to leave everything and be sent out into the wilderness. It's a little bit of a taste of it. And the thing that characterized the Israelites was their whining and their complaining and their moaning and their, just general discontent. But what we learned was, even just at 1 week, even bringing all food, even not, being under the kind of pressure they were, we have homes that we're going to be going back to. It is so easy for that stress to begin to show and people begin to fray around the edges a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And this is only 1 week. Imagine months.
I just can't imagine what would happen to people. You can see it develop. You can see where the murmuring and the whining and the complaining and the unhappiness would develop real fast.
Mm-hmm. So the challenge for us is not so much camping or being off grid or anything like that. It's doing it cheerfully and overcoming problems and just dealing with them and not grousing over them. I heard something interesting today that they're not really complaints. They are circumstances. Right?
What do you mean?
Circumstances, or they're inconveniences. That was the word that came up. A lot of times when there's problems, they're just inconveniences. Yeah, you got a flat tire. That's inconvenient, but it's not the end of the world.
That's true.
It's not that critical. Okay, yeah, we got a hornet sting. Yeah, that's inconvenient. That's painful, but you deal with it and it'll heal.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what other problems do we have? Yeah, the Berkey broke, but there's ways we can get around that. We can get water still.
Susanna got so many bug bites. She ran a fever one night.
Yeah, it's scary
that kind of scared me a little bit.
When your daughter has a fever and you're out camping.
I went to check on her and she was really hot. And I'm like, what is this?
What are we going to do now?
Yeah.
But you overcome it. You overcome the situation the best way you can, and you understand that it is a circumstance. It's just something to overcome and something to get past. And it can be inconvenient, but inconvenient things happen all the time. You just got to learn to deal with them. And be cheerful. Don't let it ruin your trip.
You have to learn how to take the things that are happening and not let them make you feel panicked or worried or scared or upset or this ruined my day or any one of a number of things that you can let those kind of circumstances wear on you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also interesting when people are breaking up camp, people have a tendency to get really snappy with each other, including us if we're not careful. There's the human nature of people is that when you're in a situation that you're not familiar with, trying to get something done, and there's any kind of setbacks or any kind of small irritations, it's really easy for people to get unhappy really fast.
I would say one of our challenges was one of our children in particular, I won't mention who. Anytime we were distracted, had our backs turned, we were working on a project, taking care of something, she would slip off. And we would have to constantly call her back. And there was a couple times, at least one time, where we couldn't find her. That's really scary because you're distracted doing something and she's right there. You turn around, she's gone.
Well, I've noticed this before, that Sukkot often highlights behaviors in our kids that are not as noticeable at home because we're in a different place and they have more to distract them and more to distract you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of little heart issues that you need to be working on, character things, really show up very strongly. And with her, we noticed that she is very much taking advantage of us not paying attention to just take off and do what she wants to do.
Because she gets away with it.
She'll do it on a small scale at home, but she can't go as far at home. So no. I don't tend to notice it. But now we really notice that whole wandering thing with her.
And I wouldn't say she was ever really in mortal danger, although you never know. She's by her,
Yeah, there was things around that could have hurt her.
There's a lot
black widow spider in the woodpile.
That's true. There's a lot of people around, and they kept an eye on her, but we can't rely on other people to watch our children for us.
There was campfires and other issues. She should not have been wandering.
She should not be a wanderer.
So by the second or third day, I was definitely having to work really hard to make sure I had an eye on her all the time and that I caught her. And even so, right to the end of the week, she was tugging at
the leash.
Well, we didn't have her on a leash, but she wanted to go, and we had to constantly watch her because it wasn't safe for her to go. Right. She couldn't do that.
So that was one of the challenges, actually.
Yeah, she definitely put strain on us to watch all the time.
In addition to everything else.
Right.
And not only that, but you want your children to be well behaved. It's a little embarrassing when your child free ranges, wanders around when you're not paying attention.
And you got to get over the embarrassment and say, it's not really about me being embarrassed. It's about the character of the child. If there's a problem, then you need to take care of it. Right. You can't get so caught up in being embarrassed that you overlook your whole job, which is to take care of the heart and the teaching of this person.
So we continue to practice.
I got to get over the embarrassment.
Yeah. So that was the kind of a quick synopsis of the whole week. This is 8 days we kind of summarized into a 10 minute,
well, I don't
15
know. I
minute
lost track
thing.
Of how long.
We might as well mention our drinks tonight. We've got, what is this called, Lauren?
It was called Hot Pumpkin Mug or something. It's in honor of pumpkin everything.
Pumpkin everything. Hot pumpkin mug. I think we'll put the recipe in the description.
Yeah, it's pumpkin and spices like you'd expect.
It's pumpkin.
Creamy. You put it in a blender, you blend it up so it's nice and frothy.
That's yummy. It's good. Yeah. I think that pretty much completes the Ben and Lauren show. Do you have any final parting words?
Have
a good evening, guys.
Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.